Well, hello. We're back with the second live where we're solving coding challenges. As always, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat and I will try to answer them. Also, if you get some value from the live, I would appreciate like and share or subscribe as it will help with the YouTube algorithm. Today, I think I'm gonna solve some challenges from Leetcode and Codewars, and maybe some Edabit if we get more time. I'm going to try to explain the solution as much as possible so people can understand if they're newer to JavaScript. So I'm going to start with some Leetcode challenges. Like I said, any questions, please pop them in the chat and I will try to answer them. I will keep an eye on the chat and I will respond to questions in the breaks between challenges, I guess. Alright, let's. I have some solved ones here, so let's just take one that is not solved and let's see what the problem is. Alright, why is it taking so long? Okay, so basically, I'm going to have to move this somewhere. So they say Roman numerals are represented by 7 different symbols, like this one. Symbol 1 is 1, 5 is 5, X is 10, L is 50, C is 100, and so on. For example, 2 is written as 2 in Roman numeral, just 2 ones added together. 12 is written as 10 and 2 ones, which is simply x plus 2. The number 27 is written as xxs 511, which is xx plus v plus 11. Roman numerals are usually written largest to smallest from left to right. However, the numeral for 4, like for 4, is not 4 ones. Instead, the number 4 is written as 1 and 5. Because the 1 is before the 5, we subtract it, making it 4. The same principle applies to the number 9, which is written as this. There are 6 instances where subtraction is used. I can be placed before v5 and x10. X can be placed before L 50 and C 100 to make 40 and 90. C can be placed before D 500 and M 1000 to make 400 and 900. Given a Roman numeral, converted to an integer. Okay. Uh, so this is a bit of a weird one because there are a lot of different things that have to be taken into account. So we have to think about how we're making the logic for this one. I'm just gonna copy the starting function and I'm gonna try to come up with a solution. Oh, what? Subscribe to unlock. Oh, wait. I don't need a solution. I need. I cannot put this. Oh no. So basically here is where I put the solution. All right. So given a numeral, I need to find out its integer. How are they calling it? Convert it to an integer, right? Um, Okay, so we need to make maybe a map of the values. So I'm gonna try to start with by making a map of the values. And we have I. I'm gonna copy this like this. So let's make it above the function. Let or const map. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm starting with this because you have to start somewhere. Now, I would say that for somebody like newer to programming, this is a bit of more complicated challenge. I wouldn't really consider it easy, but let's see what we're gonna do. Okay, I have to put this like this. I put some of this, and then so basically we give them this value, uh, and then we can have before M we can have a C to make it 900. What's D is actually 500? That's a weird one. And we have only 50. So what are they saying here? E can be placed before 5, before V is gonna make it 4. So you can have something like this. I V, where is 4? Then you can have IX, which is 9. Probably doing it in the harder way here, but then you can have XL, which is 40, and then XC, which is 90, and then you can have CD, which is 400, and then you can have CM, which is 900. Okay. I'm probably getting, I'm struggling a little bit here because I'm trying to make the best solution, but I think I may be missing something. Mm, Let's see if somebody says something in the chat. Maybe somebody has some ideas. All right, let's take it. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take all this off, all the additional ones, and I'm just gonna copy these values, right? Okay, so basically what I'm going to say is I'm going to use this map, which is these values, right? And then I'm going to basically loop through all the letters. I'm going to create a number that starts at 0. Let number integer start at 0, and then I'm going to say for let I equals 0, a less than s length, I plus plus. So we're gonna loop through all the, and if you have any question about this while I'm solving, do put them in the chat. So we're looping, we're making a number that goes from the index 0 to the index of the last letter, and for each letter we're going to say a switch, and in the switch we're gonna pass the letter. We're gonna say switch s of I. So if s of I is, and first we're going to say actually we don't even need this map, because we're going to make all in this switch. Should we make it all in the switch? VL, which is the one? V and X and L and C. All of them are getting something. I'm just gonna make a switch because this is taking too long for an easy challenge. So I'm going to say switch SI, and I'm going to say I'm going to make all these cases. So I'm going to say if it's this, but this, all of this have to be in like a string, right? So I'm gonna put them in a string. Then this and this and this, this and this and this and this, right? So we're gonna say switch SI, and this has to be like this. What's going on here? Okay, this needs to actually be something like this. What's going on? Is this an extra one? What am I missing? Oh, all of these have to be case in front of them. So we're gonna say case I, case V. So we have to say this is a case. Okay, so we have these cases, right? And what we want to say, case I, we want to say if it's an I, but after that there is a V, right? What we want to say is, so here we say if it's y, then we have two conditions in here. If s of I plus 1, so if the next one is actually a v, so if we have it an I, we have to check if after this I there is a v, because if after this I there is a v, we have to take that into the consideration and make it like a 4, right? So we want to say if s plus 1 equals s of I plus 1 equals to v, then we take these two together and we add the 4 to the number integer. So we say number integer equals, I'm probably making a very complicated solution, so I'm gonna check some of the other solution to see how they solved it, but let's just go through it. So we're gonna say number integer equals number integer plus 4, but we can say this like number integer plus equals 4. And then what we want to say, we also want to increase I by 1, because if we because we are already considering the next one as well, right? So we want to increase I plus 1 here as well, because we already consider the v after in the calculation. Otherwise, we want to say number integer plus plus, so we will just increasing it by 1. And then we want to say a break, because you have to use a break in a switch, right? So now if it's 5, this doesn't have any other consideration, so we just say number integer plus equals 5, right? Plus equals 5, so we just add 5, right? Here we also want to, in this we want another else if, and we also want to check, actually we want to check, yeah, so basically we want to check here also if it's equal to an x, right? Else if it's equal to an x, then we have to add a 9 and also do e plus plus, right? Because if there's an x after a 1, Roman 1, then it's a 9, right? So here we say number integer plus equal 9, because that's a 9 value, right? And then e plus plus. Case 5, we just add 5, right? Then we have case 10, which again has the same thing like I, right? We copy the same thing and we put it here, and we say if s of I plus 1 is, and let's see what is for the 10. For the 10 is L before and C, right? So if it's equal to L, then basically we add 40, right? If it's C, which is 100, right, then we add 90, right? Otherwise we just add 10, right? Okay, and we don't jump because we are only considering the current one, right? Then you have the case L, which is basically on its own, right? You're just adding 50, and then we have a case similar to this one with the X with the 100. We put it here, and with the 100 is basically, what do we have here? We have D and M, right? So here we say if it's equal to D, did we change here? Yeah, so if it's equal to D, then basically 400, right? Wait, this is not in case of L. I just messed up the other thing. This, we leave it like this. This is here, right? So in case it's equal to, if the next one is D, right? So if we have a D after the C, then this is 400. Right, because D is actually 500 and we extract 100 because C, because, so if we have a D and a C before it, then it's 400. And here, if we have an M after the C, which is 100, is basically 900. So we add 900, and then we skip the next one because we already considered it, right? And here you just basically add 100, and case D is just case D, you just add 500. Wow, this is a long exercise, but probably somebody wrote it so much shorter, so we're gonna learn some. I just didn't come up with on the moment, on the spot, with anything that's shorter, so we'll have to see how other people have solved it. Okay, and here you want to return the number. Okay, let's copy this. It's not that long, but probably could have been written shorter. And if we spend more time, I'm sure we can optimize this, but let's see first if it works. Okay, this one works. Let's see if all of them works. Okay, this one doesn't work. LVYY. Why is this not working? Output 100, 1658. What are we doing wrong here? Case M 1000. How is it making 1000 when we don't even have an M? So, oh, so yeah, the problem is we forgot to put a break. Like I said, we need a break after the cases, after each case. So we have a break here, we need a break here, and a break here, and a break here, because if you don't do the break, it's just considering other cases as well for some reason. Okay, so let's copy this and submit it. Okay, so this works, right? So basically what we did is we're considering each option that it gives us, and for I, we have to check if after the I there is a V or an X, and if there's a V or an X after the I, then we basically add 4 for this one and 9 for this one, and we have to also skip another I, right? Because we're basically we're taking the two together for a number, like 1V, we have to take them together. So because here we're looping one letter by one letter, when we're considering together for a number, we have to skip one more, right? Now, if the next one is not one of these numbers, then it's just basically on its own. So we're just adding 1. For 5 you just add 5, it doesn't have any sneaky things. Then for x, again, if after x there's an L which is a 50, you basically have to have 40 and skip and so on. I hope you understand where this is going. And yeah, this works. Let's see what other solutions people have put. Submissions, discussion. There's probably some really short ones. Let's see what they came up with. Let's open one or two. Okay, so they started with something like me. So they started with the legend like me. And then they went if legend of S of I. Oh, that's clever, yeah. So basically they look how much shorter this is. So basically they checked if after each letter there is a letter which has a value higher than the current value, and if there is, then basically they're they're adding that value. This is very clever. So let's copy this solution because I think let's see what other people have came up with, but I think that one is very clever. This one is not as clever, and this one for sure is not as clever as that one. So let's explain this one fast. So basically they started with the legend like I started before. Why am I for let I? Okay, let's do a Control Z and then okay. So basically what they did a legend with the most common ones, right? And then what they did the exact same thing. They were going to each letter one by one, and then what they're doing, they're checking if the value of legend of that number. So for example, let's say we have a number like this, M and C and XXS X, right? So basically what they're checking here, they're checking if the value of, so basically here when is when you have a C, right, and you're going one by one, first you are at I is 0, so it's at this index. So it's checking if the value of C, which is basically 100, is less than the value of S of I plus 1, which would be this. So it's checking is C less than M? Yes, it is less because this is 100. Legend of C is 100. Legend of M is 1000. So if it's smaller, then to the total, we're basically to the total, which is we're starting with 0 here. We're basically adding this value minus this value. So if after a letter there's a letter which in the Roman system has a higher value, then basically what we are going to add is that higher value minus that smaller value, and then if we're actually adding that, then we're also doing I++ because we're considering the two of them together. Else we're just adding the value of that letter in the numerator. So basically here what it in this number, what it will be if is the value of c in the legend less than m. Yes, it is. So we're adding to the total, we're adding legend of m, which is 1000, minus legend of c, which is 100. So we're adding 900, and we're also skipping one more. So we're basically jumping the to 1 here and then to 2 here, right? So basically at this moment we are at 900 and we are here, and then we go to the next one, and this one for each, none of them has a letter next to it. Like the next one, there's no letter which has a higher value, so we're just adding their value, which is basically legend of s of I, which is 10, right? So we're gonna get 930. So yeah, I knew there was a more clever solution, and I think we learned something really nice from this one. All right, so let's solve another one. What's happened? Why is it not showing like solve here? Okay, let's see another one. You know, have some coffee. I love coffee. Okay, so here they say write a function that find the longest common prefix string amongst an array of string. If there is no common prefix, return an empty string. Okay, so we have some explanation for this. The longest common prefix is fl. For this one, we return an empty string because there is no common prefix. Okay, do they mean that they want all the words to have that prefix? I wonder. But anyway, we're gonna consider that they want all the words in the array to have that common prefix, right? So what we want to say, first we want to maybe make a helper function which checks if all the strings in an array start with a certain string, right? So basically, given a string, we want to return true or false if all the strings in the array starts with a string. So we're going to say const all start with string equals, this is an arrow function that I'm making here, and here we pass an array and a string, right? And we want to say for let I equals 0, I less than I plus plus. So we're going with a for to all of them, and we're going to say if, and we're going to say if array of I, and there's a method array of I is gonna basically gonna be the current string, and we're going to say starts with starts with should be, yeah, starts with a string. So if it starts with a string, and basically here it's checking if it starts with a string. If we want to check if it doesn't start with a string, then we'll basically negate it. So this is checking if it doesn't start with a string, right? So if it doesn't start with a string, then we want to basically return false, right? So this is returning out of the function with false. If it's going to all this loop, so it's going to all the elements and it didn't return false, then we want to return true, right? So basically, if it doesn't return false at any point, so basically it finds that all of them are actually starting with a string, then it returns true at the end, right? Because it didn't return false at any point. So then what we want to say is we want to, so this is basically an array of strings. So what we want to say is uh, for first we want to get the first word, right? Const first word from the string equals strings of 0, right? Then we want to create a longest common prefix, const longest, right? Well, let longest, because we're gonna change it. It's gonna start with an empty string, right? And then we're going to say for let I equals let I equals 0, I less than first word length, because we're going to go to all the letters of the string. So I less that first word length, and then I plus plus, because we want to go to indexes through all the letters of this first word, right? So what we're going to say is if, well, first we're going to say a longest plus do we want to say this? What do we want to do here? We want to say, okay, what I'm going to say is I'm just going to say that longest starts with the first letter of the first word, right? Start at being the first letter of the first word of 0, right? And then we're going to say if R start with string, and then we're going to pass to this function the array of strings and the longest, right? So if they all start with that string, then or maybe we can say a while. We can say while all start with string of, and we're going to pass longest here. Well, first strings and then longest. So while this is true, we want to say okay, maybe we can say let counter equals 0, and we can say first word of counter here, and then we can say counter plus plus, and then we can say longest equal longest plus, and we want to say first word of counter, right? Because we keep adding the next letter, right? So here what we're going to say, if counter, which means that at least the first while loop was passed, so as at least one letter was the longest string, then we want to return longest, otherwise return empty string, right? And we can make this a bit shorter. We can say return, and then we're using a ternary operator here, counter, then we return longest, actually we have to return longest, but we have to slice the last letter of it, I think. I'm just making such bad solutions today. Longest slice, and I'm going to say -1 because we want to get the last letter off, otherwise we return empty string. Let's just test if this first works, and then we can improve on it a bit, because I feel that this is so bad. Okay, let's see if this works. This doesn't even work. Output O. What's happening here? Okay, so here we said first word of counter, we actually have to say what? Longest plus first word of counter. What? What are we doing here? Oh, here we just okay, so basically it has to be 0 -1, not, because here we were just slicing the last letter. Here we have to say from index 0 to -1, I think. That's why it was a bit of a weird one. Right, so this one works. and then let's submit and see if all of them work. Undefined. Expected A. Well, output undefined. Oh yeah. There's a weird issue here because basically I think we're going too much here. Here we have to go until uh, while am I, what if I say do this while this, do this, and I'm starting here with empty string, while this. What's going to happen now? Probably it's not gonna work at all. This is so bad today. Do counter plus plus longest equal longest plus first word counter. FL. Okay, so the counter should start from -1 actually, but this is a bit of a weird one, putting it from -1. Let's try to think of a better solution. I can't believe I'm spending all these times on two easy challenges. Uh, do counter plus plus. Well, I mean, who cares? We can just start from -1 because we want to get all the letters. So we're starting at do, so we're making it 1 and then we're adding it. And then if that's true, then we do it again, right? So let's run the code. What? So wait, if I start with 0, it doesn't work. Do I have to do this shit again? Ugh, I'm doing it wrong again. Okay, let's see, does it give the error again? Oh shit, this is so stupid. I'm just gonna go back to the solution from before. And let's try to come up with a better solution. This is the worst lie ever. Okay. So Okay, why I'm not doing this? I'm starting with a counter at 0, right? And then we say while and we can check here if this all start with string and we pass the strings, and here the string that we check is basically gonna be the first word, but we're slicing from the counter, which is 0. Well, we're slicing from 0 to the counter, which means it's gonna start with the counter being 0. It's gonna start by taking the first, well, the counter should actually be 1 because it's not taking the last one, right? So we're starting the counter from 1, right? And we're saying while this is true, then we increase the counter plus plus, right? And then at the end we return first word, first words slice. We're basically just returning this, right? And is this, let's see what's happening if, for example, we're trying no, but if we start from 0, let's see what's happening if I say a string, because I don't know how this works. Hello, and what happens if we slice 0 0? Okay, so this is gonna mean, okay, what's gonna happen if we say starts with empty string? It's gonna be true. Okay, so then we can say this starts from 0. So basically when this is an empty string, this is gonna be true, right? And while it keeps being true, we increase the counter, and then we're just returning this, right? Which is the last one that was true. So this should work. Let's put this in here. Okay. Run code. Wait, why is this? Why does this have an additional one? I don't get it. Oh, because it has an additional one because this is true, so it adds one more. So we still have to kind of slice the last one, right? So we're just gonna say well, we can just say counter -1, right? We just say counter -1 because it adds one that we don't need at the end. So just run like this. Okay. Wow, I can't believe how much time I'm spending on this. Woohoo. Why is this taking so long? What? Why is this saying time exceeded? What? Where is he getting stuck? I don't get it. Why is he getting stuck? What's happening here if this is strings of 0? Counter plus plus. Asterisk string of first one. I don't get it. Why is it? Why is it failing? What if I give? What if I say? Okay, so last executed input this. So if it's an empty string, then the first one is gonna be an empty string. And then first word slice 0 counter. Oh, maybe I have to check this is not an empty string. But if it's not an empty string, what if we start the counter at 1? I must be tired after a day of work. If we start the counter at 1, let's see what's going on. We have to change something else somewhere. Run code. But no, didn't copy everything. Submit. No, not submit, run. Are we getting another time limit exceeded? Okay, counter -1. What is going on here? It's like you say counter -1, else empty string, whatever, man. I had enough of this. Okay. I don't know, they have a time limit or something, or what am I doing wrong here? Alright, let's take it another way. I spent like more than half an hour of this. What the fuck is going on? Okay, so let's start with first word equals string 0. Let's longest equal, we start with an empty string, then we say while okay for, we go back to the for let I equal 1, I less than first word length I plus plus. Then we say we're using this function if all start with string of strings, and we say longest, then we're adding to longest equal longest plus. Okay, I think this may work finally. So if this one passes the test, then we're adding the next one, so we're starting to add letter. So longest plus equal, so we're adding to longest, we're adding first word of I, right? And at the end we just return longest. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna kill myself. So basically we made this function with basically given an array and a string, checks if all the elements in an array start with a string, and it returns either true or false. Then we're getting the first words here, and then we're starting a longest being an empty string. Then for let I equal 0, because we want to go through all the letter of this, we first check if longest passes the thing, and because it starts with empty string, this one is gonna pass. And if it passes, then we're adding this, we're adding the next letter, right? So we're basically gonna keep adding letters, and we can say an else. If it doesn't, then we want to break, so that once it finds one that it doesn't pass, it doesn't go any further, right? And we can basically write this shorter by saying if it doesn't pass, then we want to break here, so we break it here, break on the same line. And if we didn't break, then we're adding the next letter, right? And at the end, what we want to return is basically longest, and we want to take the last letter from the end because it adds an additional one, right? Because it keeps adding until that function doesn't work anymore, right? So let's copy this and run it, and then submit it. Why is still not working? A and output. Okay, so for A, is adding it, then that one passes. Thanks a lot for the like. So wait, we don't have to. Maybe I didn't understand but here it works. So why is this A? Oh, that's because there's no next letter after the A, so it doesn't go any further, right? So what we want to say is we have to check. First we want to check if longest is actually equal to the first words. So we want to say return longest length equals to first word length. If it's equal, then we want to return longest without taking anything off. Otherwise we take something off because there is a letter after, right? Let's see. Work. What? A, B, A. So now it's expecting B. No, so okay, so I don't get it. What's the... Wow, I can't believe how much we spent on this. So So before it was failing when there was just one like this. Mm, first word length, keep adding. Okay, so maybe we can say um, mm, where's the first word length? If starts with string break. Maybe I go back to this and say if this is passing, then we adding else break. But we also want to say if it's the last one, maybe we want to say here if I equals first word length -1, then we want to say return longest. I'm just trying everything now, and it happens sometimes like that in production code actually. Output AB, but why is it going to the next one? Because this, why is it returning this? Because this shouldn't even pass. Oh, maybe if I put this before. These things are always like either one works, either one doesn't. Alright, so we're close to it. Let's see a solution from them because I got tired of this bullshit. Probably too tired from work today. Let's see how somebody else have done it. Var prefix and then prefix. Well, this is pretty weird to understand. Why there's some pretty complex solutions here. It's probably because all of the stupid things they have in place here. Let me, because like you can see, I was trying a simpler solution here, not something very complicated. Uh, if all start with string, then we want to say that's what we say, longest plus equal maybe uh, um, maybe we want to say longest plus equal, and we want to add this here. Longest plus equal first word of I, so we want to add a letter, and then we want to say if all start with string is not true, then we want to say longest we want to say uh, return longest of slice of 0 minus 1, right? And probably there's something else after that. This is the longer I spent on a on a challenge probably, but this one pisses me off. I mean, have you seen the long solution? How are they saying that this one is an easy one? Especially like if you're new to the JavaScript, you probably struggle even more than me. Okay, so otherwise what we want to return is at the end we want to return longest. Right? Ugh, finally. She's crazy. Okay, so basically we have this function which we explained before, which checks if an array starts with all the elements in an array start with a string. Then we store the first word in here, and then we start longest with empty string, and then we're going from I0 to the last index of that first word, and we add the letter, and if we check the longest at the moment, and it's and is not passing, it means we added an additional letter that uh, we couldn't add, and we're returning longest slice of 0 minus 1 at that point because we want to take that letter off. And if we go through all the four and we didn't encounter that, then we return longest, right? So that's the solution. It's probably one of the simpler solutions from what I've seen from these solutions. I feel it's much simpler, but it took me a while to write it. It's pretty fast as well, and doesn't use too much memory. Alright, I think I'm gonna stop for now because I solved basically two easy challenges in like 1 hour and a half. So that's kind of stupid. I'm probably tired now, so we'll do another one in a few days. Probably before that one is gonna be another one of my lives where I go to the free code camp course on JavaScript. So if you're interested in that, I hope I'll see you there as well. All right, have a good one. Bye bye for now.